I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who'd sneak around her own house. But there I was, standing perfectly still in the hallway of the home I'd lived in for 23 years, holding my breath like a thief. My name is Catherine Walsh. I'm 58 years old. I have gray streaks in my hair that I stopped dyeing 2 years ago, laugh lines that earned their place on my face, and hands that show every garden I've planted and every meal I've cooked. I thought those were badges of honor. I thought my husband David saw them that way too. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday afternoon in September. I had come home early from my volunteer shift at the community library. My knee was bothering me, the one that never quite healed right after I twisted it hiking with David 5 years ago. I walked in quietly, not wanting to disturb him if he was on a work call. He'd been working from home more often lately, taking meetings in his study with the door closed. I heard voices. His voice and another. A woman's voice, light and laughing. My stomach dropped before my brain could catch up. I told myself it was nothing. A colleague. A conference call. Anything normal, but something made me stop. Something in the way he laughed. It was a laugh I hadn't heard in years. Young, flirtatious, alive. I moved closer to the study door. It was open just a crack, and then I heard it. She's gotten so old, Jennifer. Sometimes I look at her and I can't even remember the woman I married. All she talks about is her book club and her garden. She's just done, you know? Used up. The world tilted. My hand found the wall to steady myself. The woman, Jennifer, laughed. Well, you're not exactly a spring chicken yourself, David. I'm 59, he said, defensive. I take care of myself. I work out. I'm still vital. She's just let herself go. Gray hair, those cardigans she wears, the way she shuffles around in those comfortable shoes. It's depressing. So why don't you leave her? There was a pause. A long one. My heart hammered so loud I was sure he could hear it through the wall. The house, he finally said. It's in her name. Her parents left her money, investments. If I divorce her now, I lose everything. But I've been talking to a lawyer. If I wait another 2 years until I'm 61, I can claim I supported her through her declining years. Make a case for more of the assets. Declining years? Jennifer laughed. She's not dying, is she? She might as well be. She's already checked out of life. I just need to be patient. Pretend a little longer. Then I'll finally be free to live again. Maybe with someone who still has some energy left. Someone like you. I don't remember backing away from the door. I don't remember walking to our bedroom, or sitting on the edge of the bed we'd shared for over 2 decades. I just remember staring at my hands, these old hands he found so disgusting, and feeling something crack open inside my chest. I didn't cry. Not then. I think I was too shocked for tears. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, my mind spinning in circles. Part of me wanted to burst into that study and throw his laptop at his head. Part of me wanted to curl up and disappear. But another part, a part I didn't know existed, started to get very, very quiet. Very calm. Very clear. I stood up. I looked at myself in the full-length mirror on the closet door. Gray hair, 58 years old, comfortable shoes. A cardigan. And you know what I saw? I saw a woman who had raised 2 children almost entirely on her own while her husband traveled for work. I saw a woman who had organized charity drives that fed hundreds of families. I saw a woman who had nursed her mother through cancer, who had learned to speak Italian just for fun, who could identify every bird in the backyard by their song. I saw a woman who was very much alive, and I decided right then that David was right about one thing. I was done, but not in the way he thought. I was done with him. I didn't confront David that day. I didn't let him see that anything had changed. When he came out of his study an hour later, I was in the kitchen making dinner, same as always. "Hey, honey," he said, kissing my cheek. The same cheek he'd kissed 1,000 times. Now it felt like a betrayal. "You're home early." My knee was acting up, I said, stirring the pasta sauce. "I thought I'd rest it." "You should really see a doctor about that," he said, grabbing a beer from the fridge. "You're not getting any younger. These things don't heal like they used to," I smiled. "You're right. I'm not getting any younger." He didn't hear the edge in my voice. He never did. He took his beer to the living room and turned on the TV. I stood there stirring sauce and thinking about the next step. That night, I couldn't sleep. David snored beside me, peaceful and content, while I stared at the ceiling and made plans. By morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do. First, I called my daughter Emma. She's 31, a lawyer in Boston. "Smart as a whip, Mom. Is everything okay? You never call this early. Emma, I need your help. Legal help. And I need you not to ask too many questions right now." There was a pause. "Mom, what's going on?" "I'm going to divorce your father, and I need to make sure I do it right." Another pause, longer this time. Finally, that one word told me everything. My daughter had been waiting for this. "Maybe hoping for it, you knew?" I asked. "Mom, I've watched him talk down to you for years." "The way he dismisses everything you say. The way he acts like you're his maid instead of his wife. I've been waiting for you to wake up." Tears stung my eyes. "I'm awake now." "Good. Let me make some calls." "Don't do anything yet. Don't let him know. We need to be strategic." Emma connected me with a divorce attorney named Patricia Morrison. Patricia was in her 60s, sharp-eyed, with silver hair she wore in a sleek bob. She didn't waste time on sympathy. "Tell me everything," she said in our first meeting. And I mean everything. Assets, accounts, property, investments. His behavior. All of it. I told her about the house my parents had left me, worth about $800,000 now. The investment accounts in my name, another $400,000. The retirement funds we'd accumulated together. David's salary as a consultant. His 401k, then I told her what I'd overheard. Patricia's eyes glinted. "Did you record it?" "No, I didn't think. Next time record it. But don't worry. We have other ways." "Does he have this Jennifer woman's contact information anywhere?" "I don't know. Find out. Check phone bills, email, credit cards. Any evidence of an affair makes this much easier." I felt sick. "I don't want to snoop, Catherine." Patricia leaned forward. "He's planning to take your assets and leave you with nothing. He's already snooping on your entire life, calculating his exit strategy. You need to wake up to what this is. This is war, and you need to fight." So I learned to fight. I became a spy in my own home. I checked phone records online and found hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize. I couldn't read the texts, but the frequency told me everything. Morning, noon, and night. I went through the credit card statements. Dinners at expensive restaurants on nights he said he was working late. Hotel rooms in the city charged to his business card. Jewelry purchases I never received. I photographed everything. I created a secret email account and sent copies to myself. I documented every piece of evidence like I was building a case because I was. And through it all, I played the perfect wife. I cooked his meals. I did his laundry. I smiled and nodded when he talked about his day. I became invisible in a way he wanted, but for my own purposes now. It was exhausting. Some nights I'd lie in bed beside him and wonder if I was losing my mind. Maybe I should just confront him. Maybe we could fix this. Then I'd remember his words. Used up. Declining years. Checked out of life. And I'd remember I was fighting for more than just assets. I was fighting for my dignity. 3 weeks after I overheard that conversation, I made another decision. I wasn't just going to divorce David. I was going to find myself again. I started small. I went to the gym, not to lose weight or look younger, but because I wanted to feel strong. I signed up for a painting class I'd been eyeing for years. I joined a hiking group for women over 50. That's where I met Ruth. Ruth was 63, with wild curly hair and hiking boots that had seen better days. She was divorced, a retired teacher, and she had this way of laughing that made you want to laugh with her. First time, she asked when I showed up for the group hike, nervous and out of place. "Is it that obvious? Honey, you look like a deer in headlights." "Don't worry. We all started somewhere. Come on, I'll walk with you." We fell into step together on the trail. Ruth didn't ask intrusive questions. She just talked about the trees, pointed out a hawk circling overhead, told me about her grandkids. It was easy, comfortable. Halfway through the hike, I started crying. Just tears streaming down my face while we walked. Ruth handed me a tissue without breaking stride. "Divorce? How did you know?" "Been there. 20 years ago. Caught my husband with his secretary. Original, right?" "What did you do?" "I took him for everything he had." She grinned. "Then I bought a cabin in Vermont and learned to ski." "Best decision of my life." "I'm scared," I admitted. "Good. Being scared means you're doing something real. Being numb is worse. Trust me, by the time we finished that hike, I had a friend. A real friend, not someone from David's work circle or a couple we socialized with. Someone who was mine. Patricia called me 6 weeks after our first meeting. "I have everything I need. When do you want to serve him? Is there a good time?" "Not for him, but for you, whenever you're ready." I thought about it. Our anniversary is in 2 weeks, November 15th. You want to serve him on your anniversary? We've been married 23 years. He's been planning to leave me for at least some of them. "Yes, I want him served on our anniversary." Patricia laughed. "I like you, Catherine. Okay, November 15th it is." Those 2 weeks were strange. David was actually making an effort in his way. He suggested we go out for our anniversary. Somewhere nice. Make an evening of it. "That sounds lovely," I said, and meant it. It would be our last dinner together. I wanted to remember him like this, pretending to care before everything fell apart. He took me to an Italian restaurant we used to go to when we were younger. He ordered wine. He asked about my week. He even complimented my dress, a new one I'd bought with my own money. "You look nice," he said. "That color suits you." "Thank you." 23 years, he said, raising his glass. "Here's to 23 more." I clinked my glass against his. "To the future." He didn't catch the way I phrased it. "To the future?" "Not our future. Just the future, whatever it might hold." We ate. We talked about nothing important. He told me about a client who was being difficult. I told him about a book I was reading. We could have been strangers making small talk. When we got home, he kissed me goodnight and went to sleep. I lay awake for hours, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The good years when we were young and struggling together. The birth of our children. The way he used to look at me like I was the most important person in his world. When did that change? Or had he always been like this and I just didn't see it? At 7 a.m. the next morning, the doorbell rang. David was in the shower. I answered it. A man in a suit stood there with an envelope. "Catherine Walsh?" "Yes." "These are for David Walsh." He handed me the envelope. "Have a good day, ma'am." I held the divorce papers in my hands. They felt heavier than they should. David came downstairs 20 minutes later, dressed for work. "Who was at the door?" "These came for you." I handed him the envelope. He opened it, still casual, probably expecting a delivery or a bill. I watched his face change as he read. Confusion first, then shock, then anger. What the hell is this? Exactly what it looks like. "You're divorcing me?" He said it like the idea was absurd. "Over what?" "Over the fact that you think I'm used up." Over the fact that you've been planning to leave me for years while pretending to be my husband. Over Jennifer. His face went white. How did you? I heard you. That day in September, I heard everything you said about me. He opened his mouth. Closed it, opened it again. Catherine, I didn't mean it. I was just venting. Talking trash with the woman you're sleeping with? Yes, I know. I have the receipts. Hotel rooms, dinners, jewelry, all of it. You went through my accounts? You were planning to take my house. My inheritance? Everything my parents left me. Yes, David, I went through your accounts. He tried anger first. You had no right. Neither did you. To cheat, to lie. To plan your exit strategy while I cooked your meals and washed your clothes. But here we are. Then he tried bargaining. We can fix this. Catherine, please. It was a mistake. I'll end it with Jennifer. We can go to counseling. 23 years? We can't just throw that away? You already did. You threw it away the moment you decided I was too old to be worth your time. I never said that. Yes, you did. You said I was used up, checked out of life. You said you were waiting for my declining years so you could take more in the divorce. His face crumpled. Not with sadness. With the realization that he'd been caught. That his plan had failed. What do you want? He finally asked. I want you out of my house by the end of the week. My lawyer will be in touch about the rest. This is my house too. No, David, it's not. It's in my name. It was my parents' house. You've just been living in it. Now you won't be. He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Maybe he was. Maybe for 23 years he'd been looking at some version of me he'd created in his head, and now the real me was standing in front of him. I'll fight this, he said. Go ahead. I have documentation of your affair. I have evidence of your plan to defraud me. I have a very good lawyer and a lot of determination. Fight all you want. You'll lose. He left the room. I heard him on the phone, probably calling Jennifer, probably calling his own lawyer. I sat down at the kitchen table and realized my hands were shaking. I'd done it. After weeks of planning, of gathering evidence, of building my courage, I'd finally done it. I called Emma. It's done. How do you feel? Terrified. Good. That means you're alive. The next 6 months were brutal. David did fight. He claimed I was mentally unstable, that I'd fabricated the affair, that he deserved half of everything because he'd supported me through the marriage. Patricia tore him apart. She presented phone records, credit card statements, and testimony from the hotel staff who recognized David and Jennifer as regular guests. She showed the court the house deed, the investment accounts, the inheritance documents. She painted a picture of a man who had lived off his wife's money while cheating on her and planning to leave her with nothing. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She looked at David over her glasses and said, Mr. Walsh, I've seen a lot of unpleasant things in this courtroom. Your behavior ranks among them. Your petition for shared assets is denied. David walked away with his 401k, his personal accounts, and his car. I kept the house, my inheritance, and my dignity. Emma hugged me after the final hearing. I'm so proud of you, Mom. I'm proud of me, too. But divorce wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. I sold the house. Too many memories, too many rooms that felt haunted by a marriage that had died years before I noticed. I bought a smaller place in a neighborhood full of artists and writers. A cottage with a garden and big windows that let in the light. I kept painting. I got better at it. I started selling my work at local galleries. Nothing fancy, just small landscapes and still lifes that made people smile. I kept hiking with Ruth and the group. We went to the White Mountains, to the Adirondacks, to trails I'd never heard of. I got stronger. My knee stopped hurting. I could hike 10 miles without thinking twice, and I met someone. His name was Thomas. He was 62, a retired architect, a widower. I met him at an art show where I was displaying my work. He stood in front of one of my paintings, a sunset over a lake, for a very long time. "Sorry," he said when he noticed me watching. "I'm not usually the kind of person who stares at art, but this one reminds me of a place my wife and I used to go. She passed away 3 years ago. I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you. Are you the artist?" "I am. It's beautiful. You're very talented." We talked for an hour. About art, about loss, about starting over. He asked if I'd like to get coffee sometime. I said yes. We dated slowly. No rushing, no pressure. Just two people who'd been through hard things, learning to be happy again. He never made me feel old. He never made me feel less than. He told me I was beautiful, and when he said it, I believed him. 6 months after we met, Thomas and I were having dinner at his place. He'd cooked pasta with homemade sauce, and we were laughing about something silly when he got serious. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Of course." When my wife died, I thought that was it for me. I thought I'd had my chance at love and it was over. I was just going to live out the rest of my days alone. I understand that feeling. But then I met you. And you reminded me that life doesn't end just because we get older. It changes. And sometimes the changes are good. I reached across the table and took his hand that was weathered and spotted with age just like mine. Sometimes the changes are very good. A year and a half after my divorce was finalized, I got a call from Emma. "Mom, you need to see this." "See what?" "Dad's on social media. He's engaged." My stomach dropped, not from sadness, but from curiosity. "To Jennifer?" "No, someone named Brittany." "She's 32, I laughed. I couldn't help it. 32? "Yeah, she's a yoga instructor. He's in all these photos at her studio, trying to do poses. He looks ridiculous?" "Emma, what? He does. He's practically bent in half trying to impress her." "It's pathetic. Let him be pathetic." "It's not our problem anymore. Don't you care?" I thought about it. Did I care that my ex-husband was trying to recapture his youth with a woman young enough to be his daughter? Did I care that he was probably paying for everything? Probably showering her with gifts and attention? Probably making the same mistakes all over again? "No," I said honestly. "I really don't. I hope he's happy. And if he's not, that's his journey to figure out." "You're amazing, Mom. You know that?" "I'm learning." I started writing about my experience. Not a book, just a blog. I called it Life After 50. I wrote about divorce, about starting over, about discovering that you're not done just because society says you should be. Other women found it. They commented, they shared their stories, they asked questions. The blog grew. I started getting emails from women all over the country who were going through similar things. One woman wrote, "My husband left me for a younger woman. He said I'd let myself go. Your blog helped me realize I didn't let myself go. I let him go. And I'm better for it." Another wrote, "I'm 65 and I just started my own business. Everyone said I was too old. I read your blog and realized they were wrong. Thank you." Ruth suggested I turn it into a book. "You're a good writer, Catherine. People need to hear this." So I wrote a book. I called it Used Up: How I Found Life. After being told I was done, I self-published it because I didn't want to wait for some publisher to decide if my story was worthy. It sold 3,000 copies in the first month, then 10,000, then 50,000. Women were buying it, reading it, sharing it. I started getting invited to speak at women's groups, at libraries, at conferences. I stood on a stage in front of 200 women and told my story. I told them about overhearing David, about feeling invisible, about fighting back, about discovering that 58 wasn't the end of anything. It was just the beginning of something new. We spend so much of our lives worrying about what other people think, I said. about whether we're pretty enough, young enough, good enough, and then one day you realize the only person who needs to think you're enough is you. The women stood up and applauded. Some were crying. After the talk, dozens of them lined up to hug me, to thank me, to tell me their own stories. One woman, probably in her 70s, took my hand and said, "I needed to hear this 30 years ago, but I'm glad I heard it now." "It's never too late." "No," I agreed. "It's never too late." Thomas and I got married 2 years after we met. Not a big wedding, just close friends and family. Emma was my maid of honor. She cried through the whole ceremony. "I never thought I'd see you this happy again," she whispered as we danced at the small reception. Neither did I. "Do you ever think about Dad?" "Sometimes. I hope he's found what he's looking for. And if he hasn't, then that's his lesson to learn, not mine." My son Jack, who'd been quieter through my whole divorce, pulled me aside later that night. "Mom, I need to apologize." "For what?" "For not seeing it sooner. How Dad treated you. I was so focused on my own life, my own family. I should have noticed. Jack, it wasn't your job to fix my marriage. I know, but I should have supported you better. You're supporting me now. That's what matters." He hugged me tight. "I'm proud of you. You're like a completely different person." "No," I said. "I'm the same person I always was. I just remembered who that was." 5 years after my divorce, I was hiking with Ruth on a trail in Vermont. It was fall, the leaves were turning, and the air had that crisp quality that makes you feel alive. "You know what I realized?" I said as we climbed. "What's that?" "David did me a favor." Ruth stopped walking. "Come again?" "He did me a favor by being cruel enough to say those things out loud, by forcing me to wake up. If he'd just been quietly unhappy for another 10 years, I might have wasted that whole time trying to fix something that was already broken." That's a generous way to look at it. I know. But it's true. I'm happier now than I've been in decades. I have work I love, friends who actually see me, a husband who thinks I'm beautiful exactly as I am, a life that feels like mine. You earned that life. We both did, all of us who refuse to believe we're done just because someone else says so. We reached the summit of the trail. The view stretched out before us, mountains rolling into the distance, leaves blazing with color. I took a deep breath and felt something I hadn't felt in my marriage for years. Freedom. I'm 63 now. My hair is completely gray and I love it. I wear comfortable shoes because my feet hurt otherwise, and I don't care what anyone thinks about it. I have wrinkles that deepen when I laugh, and I laugh a lot these days. I paint in the mornings. I write in the afternoons. Thomas and I travel, nothing fancy, just road trips to places we've never been. We hold hands. We talk about books and art and what we want to do with the rest of our lives. Because there is a rest of our lives. There are years ahead, full of possibility and adventure and joy. We're not done. We're not used up. We're not declining, we're living. Last month, I got an email from a woman named Sarah. She was 56, going through a divorce, feeling like her life was over. "I read your book," she wrote, "and I just want you to know it saved me. Not from my husband, from myself, from the belief that 56 meant I should just give up and accept whatever scraps life threw my way. Thank you for showing me there's another way," I wrote back. "You don't need me to show you anything. You already know the way. You just needed permission to take it. Consider this your permission. Go live." Sometimes people ask me if I regret the years I spent with David. If I feel like I wasted my time, I don't. Those years gave me my children. They taught me things I needed to learn, even if the lessons were hard. They brought me to this point, this place, this version of myself that knows her own worth. But I won't lie and say I'm grateful for the pain. I'm not grateful David cheated. I'm not grateful he thought so little of me. I'm not grateful for the humiliation of overhearing those words. What I'm grateful for is what I did next. The choice I made to fight instead of fade. The courage I found to leave instead of stay. The strength I discovered to build a new life from the ashes of the old one. That's the thing about getting older. You accumulate scars. You lose things. You face disappointments and betrayals and losses that would have destroyed your younger self. But you also accumulate wisdom, resilience, the knowledge that you've survived hard things before and you'll survive them again. The understanding that other people's opinions of you are just that, opinions, not facts. I'm not the woman David thought I was. I'm not used up. I'm not done. I'm not shuffling through my declining years. I'm climbing mountains. I'm painting sunsets. I'm writing books. I'm falling in love. I'm living a life that feels true and right and mine, and if that's what being too old looks like, I'll take it. Last week, Emma called me. Mom, you're not going to believe this. What? Dad's getting divorced again. From Brittany. Apparently, she left him for someone her own age. I should have felt satisfaction, some kind of karmic justice. But all I felt was tired sadness for a man who was still looking outside himself for happiness. That's unfortunate, I said. That's it? That's all you have to say? What else is there? I hope he finds peace. I hope he figures out whatever he needs to figure out. But Emma, it's not my story anymore. It hasn't been for years. You're a better person than I am. No, I'm just a person who learned that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I'm done with poison. I'm done with anger. I'm done letting David take up any more space in my head. I love you, Mom. I love you too. After we hung up, Thomas asked, David news? Another divorce. How do you feel about it? I thought for a moment. I feel nothing. And that's exactly how I should feel. He kissed my forehead. Want to go for a walk? Always. We walked through our neighborhood, past houses with lights in the windows, past gardens putting themselves to bed for winter, past people living their own complicated lives. The air was cold but not bitter. The sky was clear. What are you thinking about? Thomas asked. About how lucky I am. About how many good years are still ahead. About how grateful I am that I didn't believe David when he said I was done. You were never done. You were just waiting to begin. Maybe. Or maybe I'm a slow learner. He laughed. Better late than never. Better late than never, I agreed. If you're reading this and you're a woman who feels invisible, who's been told you're too old, too much, too far gone, I want you to know something. You're not done. You're not used up. You're not beyond saving or starting over or finding joy. You're just at the beginning of the next chapter. And sometimes the next chapter is the best one. Take it from a woman who heard her husband say she disgusted him, who could have curled up and accepted that verdict, who could have believed she was everything he said she was. Take it from a woman who chose differently. Take it from a woman who's 63, gray-haired, wrinkled, comfortable, and happier than she's ever been. Take it from me. It's never too late to begin again. The only person who gets to decide you're done is you. And I'm not done yet, not even close.